Most gym rats who train to failure, I know, they train to failure now. This specific gym rats group of people do train to failure. Most of them who do it make so many mistakes. They know it's better, but they make so many mistakes. Now, Anatoly, sure, in the past he made a few mistakes, doesn't make them anymore. He's learned from his mistakes, and that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to keep doing the same mistakes over and over and over again. You can fix the mistakes, guys. Like, you don't have to keep doing it. When training to failure, I used to cheat reps a bit. I didn't realize at the time that this was a mistake, and that's the thing. It's really hard to know if something's a mistake until someone's staring you right in the face and they're saying, "What on earth are you doing? That's not good." And that's what I'll start with, man. Cheating a rep when training to failure. What does this do? Well, when training to failure, we're literally trying to make the muscles fail. That's understood, and we can understand that concept very, very logically. But when we reach failure, if we start cheating because the rep's getting hard, what does that do? If we can't bring down the lat pull down, and so we we do something. When did the muscle fail? Are we counting the failure of cheat reps as failure? Because all we're really doing is we're confusing a stimulus. Stimulus can't be confused, but we're confusing our perception of a stimulus, and we're increasing injury risk. We're also removing sanitization. When it comes to progression, we know that more reps matter. And we can count reps as the portions throughout the rep. So say in 2 weeks, we're still on 9 reps. We went from bringing it to here to here. That is progression. Now, if this was cheated, what are we even, how are we tracking? How do we track the amount of cheat that's being involved? And that's why the form does have to be perfect. Because the second we start cheating, we're allowing too much leeway. When did we stop cheating? When did we start cheating? What is cheating? That's the problem, and I think that's the biggest one everyone makes. But that is not as big as the next problem, and that would just be not knowing where failure is. So many times we can grind for an extra 2 seconds, and then we will actually get an extra rep in. And yet we will count a failure rep as a rep that wasn't failure. The only failure was our ability to become a failure. And that makes us the real... the real? What the heck? That makes us the real failure, man. Not actually failing. I don't know if you know this, but especially shortened bias movements are going to be super, super difficult to fail on. Just because the amount of time it will take to grind. And it's these ones you have to focus on the most. If it's lengthened biased, sure. The drop-off is so quickly where you could probably get away with not grinding as hard, although you should always grind equally as hard. But on those shortened bias movements, you're not going to know what hit you. You got to keep pushing, because there are things like hamstring curls where a rep that feels like it's the last one will genuinely be 5 from it. And all it took was a little bit of extra grinding, and then you get the extra 4. That sounds a bit insane, but trust me, when you start properly grinding through these reps, things change. Your perception changes. And then you realize that when people speak about this, how it's not true. We all know it's not true. But when people speak about how 2 reps from failure is the best, which, do they even read? Do they even look at the data? But that's fine. When people speak about stuff like that, take hamstring curls. The amount of reps that feel like the last rep, how would you even know when to stop? Because even when trying to train to failure, people are giving up before hitting it because they think they're failing. It's not just that exercise. Bicep curls are the exact same. How can people shoot for 2 reps from failure when they don't know what failure is? When they just think failure is the second a rep gets hard. When their sets look identical to their warm-up sets. They also don't do primer sets because they're not based, but that's besides the point. This next one, I lied. This next one's actually even more important. Rest breaks. I spoke about this in great detail, but if people aren't resting long enough and they're taking a reset to failure, then what are they doing? Because we train to failure because we know it's superior. We don't train to failure because it's fun. Well, it is fun. I guess we do train to failure because it's fun. But If we're not resting long enough and we're still trained to failure, we're taking a huge hit, a huge amount of fatigue, and then not giving ourselves enough rest and then going to failure. Like, what are we doing here? What are you doing, sir? You do really, like, you're not resting to get more reps, you're resting to have a new set. This isn't some sort of rest pause rubbish where we're apparently getting more out of it. Like, no. This is a entirely new set we're aiming for. So if you're not resting long enough and you're doing training to failure, then we just rest longer. It's that simple. And of course, the next one actually leads very, very nicely from that previous point, is people who do supersets and drop sets. This is a huge mistake, because already with training to failure, you can do so little and get so much. And yet people will ruin that by having a set to failure and a set to failure. Do you know the amount of stress this takes? This is the same as the rest one, purely because we don't have enough time to recover. If we're doing some like loser sort of workout where we're going nowhere near failure, sure, we can probably superset with 0 consequences, but that's not what we're doing. And what makes it even worse is some people won't even do 2. They'll do a giant set, they'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. What is this? You do realize you don't have to have them combined, right? It just makes me sad seeing people train properly on like the one thing people don't do, and then throwing in the one thing people shouldn't do. It really does hurt, because I'm trying to help people, and not only do people not want help a lot of the time or won't accept it because they've been doing this for so long. I don't want to be like told tomorrow that I've been training completely wrong and this is the actual way to train, and I'm like, but I've just mastered this art form, and you know, it's like learning a martial art and then someone tells you that you just chose the worst one, but you've been learning it for 30 years and you spent so much money. It's like, I don't really want to switch. This is the right one, right? They're just jealous of my martial art form. They're just jealous of the way I train. And that leads to the next biggest thing. Well, I say that loosely. It very loosely leads to the next thing. I spoke about doing something 30 years. Sunk cost fallacy. That's a lot. So the next thing, the next issue, is a lot of volume, which also comes with a lot of fatigue. When you train to failure, you don't need to do all this, man. You don't have to do 10 sets. You don't have to do more than 10 sets. You probably don't have to do 10 sets of muscle. Per week, by the way. Not per workout, per week. If you exceed 10, you're probably not getting much extra. There is an amount of sets where when you reach it, that's it. You can't do more and get more. It's not some sort of like emo guitar thing where if I play the guitar for long enough, then I'll just get really, really good at the guitar because my ambition is big enough. Like, no, it just looks out. The only thing you get above it is fatigue. And fatigue is harder to recover from. And it will slow down our progress. And it will get in the way. And potentially doing more is even going to lead to additional strength gains, which will work against hypertrophy, because that's a different mechanism. We want to build muscle. The stronger we are, the harder it actually is to do that, because the harder it is to recover from it. And so, doing too much volume, not only are we getting ourselves too strong, not only are we making too much fatigue, but we're doing all of it for nothing. You can say you have fun, and sure, that's a part of it. But the people who do that have to understand it's the same as playing video games. Like, it's the same as watching Netflix all day. It is instant gratification because we are putting our dreams on pause, on hold, just because we want fun. And I think what really is fun is being able to look in the mirror, see something that you built, and being proud of how much hard work it took. That is what's actually fun. That's what actually matters. And that's what's actually fulfilling. The gym is just working out. It's just getting stress out. We can do that in so many different ways, and I guarantee you don't have to do as much, and you will still enjoy everything.